Hi everybody, all of you welcome to my legal classes. Today we are going to discuss Article 23 and 24 of Indian Constitution, that is right against exploitation. The right against exploitation is dealt under Article 23 and Article 24 of Indian Constitution, in which Article 23 deals with prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Article 24 deals with prohibition of employment of children in factories. Article 23 has two clauses. Article 23 clause 1 says, traffic in human beings and beggar and other similar forms of forced labor are prohibited. Any contravention of this provision shall be an offence punishable in accordance with law. Article 23 രണ്ട് clauses ഉള്ളതാണ്. അതിൽ Article 23 clause 1-ലാണ് prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത്. According to Article 23 clause 1, traffic in human beings, beggar and forced labor, these three are prohibited. The expression traffic in human beings includes slavery. Beggar means forced labor either with no wages or inadequate wages. Traffic in human beings എന്ന ഈ ഒരു expression, it includes slavery, അടിമത്വം. And what is beggar? Beggar means forced labor either with no wages or inadequate wages. Sufficient ആയിട്ടുള്ള salary ഇല്ലാതെ, sufficient payment ഇല്ലാതെ, without the sufficient payment, forced labor ചെയ്യിക്കുന്നതിനെയാണ് beggar എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. In Dubargola vs. Union of India, licensed porters who entered into voluntary agreement to do extra work contended that they were performing forced labor. But the court held that a voluntary agreement to do extra work for payment cannot be considered as forced labor. Voluntary ആയിട്ടുള്ള agreement to do extra work for payment, പേയ്മെൻറ്റിനു വേണ്ടി extra work ചെയ്യുവാനുള്ള ഒരു agreement cannot be considered as a forced labor. Men and women should not be used for immoral purpose, and such acts are prohibited by the Suppression of Immoral Traffic in Women and Girls Act of 1956. So an act which supports Article 23 of Indian Constitution is what? Suppression of Immoral Traffic in Women and Girls Act of 1956. According to it, men and women should not be used for immoral purpose, and such acts are prohibited. If conflict arises between the freedom to practice any profession, occupation, trade or business, that is Article 19(1)(g) and Article 23, the latter shall prevail. എപ്പോഴാണോ ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 19(1)(g)ക്കും ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 23ക്കും ഒരു കോൺഫ്ലിക്റ്റ് വന്നാൽ, അതായത് ഫ്രീഡം ടു പ്രാക്ടീസ് എനി പ്രൊഫഷൻ, ഒക്കുപ്പേഷൻ, ട്രേഡ് ഓർ ബിസിനസ് ആണ് ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 19(1)(g). അതിനും ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 23-ലെ prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor നും ഒരു കോൺഫ്ലിക്റ്റ് വന്നാൽ, the latter shall prevail. Always Article 23 will win. Let's discuss three case laws. Number 1, Chandra versus State of Rajasthan. In this case, the village sarpanch had forced the villagers to agree to build a tank without any wages and also fined those who did not come to do it. The court held that it was violative of Article 23 clause 1. Number 2, Dina versus Union of India. In this case, it was held that exploiting work from prisoners without the payment of proper wages is violative of Article 23. Very important. Exploiting work from prisoners without the payment of proper wages is violative of Article 23, and they should be paid reasonable wages. So Article 23 makes sure reasonable wages for prisoners. Number 3, People's Union for Democratic Rights versus Union of India. In this case, during the Asiad project, ₹1 was collected by the contractor from the Jamadas to be paid as wages for workers in the project. This made the workers get wages lesser than the minimum wages. The court held that it was violative of Article 23 clause 1. Now let's see what is Article 23 clause 2. The state may impose compulsory service for public purposes, that is for welfare of the people, without discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste or class. This is Article 23 clause 2. The state may impose compulsory services for public purposes. Public purposes nu vendittulla compulsory services. For example, rural area postings of government doctors. That should be without discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste or class. Such compulsory services for public purposes are not violative of Article 23 Clause 1. This Article 23 Clause 2 is an exception to Article 23 Clause 1. Now, Article 24 of Indian Constitution. Article 24 of Indian Constitution deals with prohibition of employment of children in factories. According to Article 24, children below the age of 14 years are prohibited from working in any factory or other work involving danger or risk to their physical or mental health. 14 വയസ്സിന് താഴെയുള്ള കുട്ടികൾ ഫാക്ടറിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനെ ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 24 പ്രൊഹിബിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. What is the object of this Article 24? To prevent children of tender age from being abused due to their economic poverty and thus endangering their health. So, the main object of Article 24 is to prevent child abuse due to economic poverty. Employment of children in factories and mines is also prohibited. Let's see what are the other legislations which support this Article 24. According to the Employment of Children Act of 1939, children below 15 years should not be employed in transport of passengers, goods or meals by railways. 15 വയസ്സിന് താഴെയുള്ള കുട്ടികൾ should not be employed in transport of passengers, goods or meals by railways. Similarly, children below 12 years should not be employees in any workshop like beadi making, match factory and explosives and fireworks etc. 12 വയസ്സിന് താഴെയുള്ള കുട്ടികൾ ബീഡി മേക്കിംഗ്, മാച്ച് ഫാക്ടറി, എക്സ്പ്ലോസീവ്സിൻ്റെ, ഫയർ വർക്സിൻ്റെ ഫാക്ടറീസിലൊന്നും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുവാനായിട്ട് എംപ്ലോയീസ് ആകുവാൻ പാടില്ല. In short, Part 3 of Indian Constitution deals with fundamental rights from Articles 12 to 35, in which Article 23 and Article 24 deals with the right against exploitation. Article 23 has two clauses. Article 23 Clause 1 deals with prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Traffic in human beings includes slavery, beggar. Article 23 Clause 2 says the state may impose compulsory service for public purposes without discrimination. Finally, Article 24 deals with prohibition of employment of children in factories, mines and other dangerous environments.